So, hello and welcome. My name's Steve Nobel, and today I'm speaking with Sophie Sun on Kundalini Life Force Activation. Now, Sophie is a free spirited, intuitive, loving soul who's passionate about the evolution of consciousness. For the past several years, she's been guiding those called to the work to activate their own life force and creative power. And Sophie is a facilitator of life force activation and initiation trainings and creatrix of Heka Portals. She's the author of the book, You Are the Miracle. Here it is, the Kundalini Facilitated Book of Light. And she's creator of the Priestess Oracle, which I've got here as well. I'm clearly a fan, right? So, hi, Sophie. How are you doing today?
I am doing so good. I am so grateful to be here with you, Steve. It's honestly a pleasure and honor that we get to have this conversation and share with, your community and my community.
Oh, wonderful. I'm just turning this light on. I can see half my face is a little bit dark. Sorry. There you are. Now I'm in the light. So, there we go.
Perfect.
So let me ask you, how did it all begin? What brought you? You didn't do your schooling, and go, I'm going to be a Kundalini facilitator. So what was your path towards this?
Indeed, it was definitely a divinely guided path that uh, always was happening and unfolding in through my surrender. So it was never something I could plan or I could, imagine before and then go for that direction. It just happened in this way.
Yeah.
So I would say that around 10 years ago, a little bit over 10 years ago, I started to read some books about quantum physics and different things, energetics, to understand our universe and also our human psyche. And this was the first steps that led me to this path. And so for several years, I studied different currents, yoga, Ayurveda, quantum physics. I studied really many different ways of looking at the existence of life and the realities and dimensions and the human and the soul. And so studying, it led me to very fast help other people. So whatever I was ingesting, because at first it was really ingesting knowledge, I was just giving sessions of energy healing or quantum coaching, I used to call it back in France where I was living, and just starting to help people to understand, guys, we actually are the creators of our reality, and we need to remember that and take back the power. Um, After a few years of doing that, when COVID happens, it was a perfect opportunity for me to finally leave France, where I wasn't feeling aligned at all. But Bali, which was such a homeland in my heart, was calling me. And so when the quarantine happened in France, it was a perfect moment for me to finally leave behind my old life, something that was not no longer in alignment with my purpose. And I took a flight to Bali, and this was the beginning of the embodiment. So whatever I had studied for many years, when I landed in Bali, it was the first time that I was feeling the actual possibility of a different life, of a life that felt sweet, that felt miraculous, that felt open to magic. And I
Mm.
was running into people, of course, local people there that are so close to the divine. And the first thing they do when they wake up is offering and praying. And they believe in all of that and in that magic and they apply it. And then I started to meet people like me, expats that are absolutely like-minded and that have also the crazy speeches and crazy ideas. And so together we were living what we were believing before. And so for me being in Bali, I stayed there for 5 years. I just left now. But this first year in Bali, it was just moving with the rhythm of grace. So I would live in a way where I would not plan anything. I did not have any conditioning anymore or expectations put on me. And so I would finally be free in that flow. And that was an experience that led me to experience my body and my energy in different ways. And so I started to meditate in a very deep way. I started to do different yoga practices, different breathwork sessions, different sound healing, ecstatic dance, really opening my body, opening the pathways. And then one day of absolute divine alignment and graceful gift, I was guided to a session that was called Kundalini activation. It was 4 years ago. And at the time, we didn't know so much about this process. But one of my dear friends, she showed me this woman just arrived in Bali. She's offering this. And I looked at the video, and the feeling inside of me was beyond. So I go to this session, and yeah, something really magic happened for me there. Before even she started to speak and explain what we we're about to do, my entire body started to go into an activation that I had never felt before. And something happened that day that was quite exceptional, where I had actually a full awakening of my divine energy. So, very beautiful and long story short, what happened was that everything exploded and boomed inside of me in the most lightful and delightful way possible. And so for 3 days, so everything opened. I could not, I was completely aware, but I was such in the letting go that I was not in the control of this energy and this body anymore. I was just observing the pure divinity of me finally being moved at the forefront of things. So then for 3 days, I stayed in that state completely high, where with my physical eye, I was seeing blurry, but my third eye was really burning, and I could not feel the physical limit anymore of the body. I was very much present and aware, but the physical was not there anymore. I was just feeling this energetic space that I was. So day and night, just in that energy. And that moment that lasted 3 full days, that was the moment of restructuration. My light body got activated in a one big bam. And then I spent years integrating that. But basically, in that moment, I really felt like the energy that was awakened inside, it became my intuition. And I was already listening a lot, but this energy started to speak, and it started to I knew I had something to open for others. And so I started to just call friends and be like, I have no idea what's going on, because I didn't have mentor or books, to read on this. So I have no idea what this is, but this is incredibly light, divine. It feels incredible. And I need to transmit this, not from me directly to you, but there's something here I need to open. Can you guys come over? And so friends would come over, or I would go to them, and I would open a space that I had no idea how to. But pieces by pieces, portals by portals, and sessions by sessions, I started to understand more of how this energy wants to be served, and how it's working, and how the resonance between people creates the magic.
Yeah. I think there is a real big difference from someone who does a training and learns something from someone and then repeats it, and someone who walks the path and creates it and opens and learns through experience. Now, you mentioned earlier surrender, and from what that word kind of hit me when you said it, and I just remembered you had a chapter in your book called Divine Surrender, and you say surrendering can be one of the hardest parts of the human experience. Definitely the biggest leap of faith. We cling to control in order to feel secure and safe, manipulating our environment to stay on top of it, to prevent any unwanted surprises. But that is all an illusion. You're writing here. It seems like this is your path, isn't it? You've created it through surrender, through following something, your intuition, but also surrendering to something. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that path, sometimes I call it the path of the divine feminine return, because it's really a path that as humans, we have forgotten. We have forgotten to live in the rhythm of grace. We have forgotten to live completely aligned and in awe of life, and with allowing life to move us, to move through us. And so we have lived with this willingness, this force of the mind. We have brilliant minds, I always say, but we have forgotten how it's like to also believe that our minds don't have all the answers, and they are a little bit too limited compared to the actual magical possibility that is available right now for reality. And so for me, surrendering is a deep reclamation of our divinity, and the way that we can become again the creators of destiny here on earth, and finally birth a new earth that is back in harmony, back in peace, and back in magic. So surrendering, I always say empowered surrender, because it is not a weak thing to do of I'm giving up my power. On the contrary, when we are brave enough, and that's why it's so hard, when we're brave enough to let go of certain identities that we grab on, certain concepts that define our life and help us feel safe in reality or with our world and environment, when we let go of those things, those old paradigms, conditions, and whatever things we think about ourselves and the world, we come into an empty place of void that is actually not so empty. It's full. It's full of everythingness. And this is where the real power awakens. This is where we become again the architect of reality.
Well, I'm going to quote back to something you said. This is the path of absolute trust, of faith, the fusion of the infinite with the finite, the path of the great truth of your existence, allowing this total awakening, this new, pure, integrated, embodied consciousness. Now, surrender and faith, but are there challenges to that?
The challenges. Our entire storyline as human beings, the entire human experience is a challenges to that.
Yes.
Yeah, because of course we are here in a dense world. It's physicality. So when we're talking about divine powers and subtle possibilities, we're talking about frequencies that are so high, so vibrating so fast, and everything is easy and fast and happening in grace like this, instantaneous. But here on the human level, in the human experience on earth, we're vibrating at such a lower frequency. Everything is slower. We have a linear time that we make up and we live by. And we have actual dense challenges happening. And this has been ongoing for eons. So now we also have lineage and generational challenges to move from. So it's what we call shadows, what we call ego. It's all this play here that is coming from the survival illusion that we come with as we arrive on this earth and don't remember the full potential that we have. And for generations, we have done that. And so we are faced with really difficult challenges on earth. This is undeniable. We all have incredible obstacles to overcome, always. And so those tend to bring us back into the layers of separation, of survival that we desperately need to move from now. And we really need to move from them to rise above and to remember that all the experiences that we're having, even the hard ones, somehow our soul is choosing that. Somehow there is something in there that is also serving us, and find the key, find the wisdom key that we can also nourish from and build a future that is a little bit more aligned.
Yeah. I want to ask you a bit more directly about your work, because you're working with Kundalini activation. In your work, when I look at your website and the book, you talk about, is a pronunciation Heka. So it seems like Kundalini is very associated with the Indian sacred spiritual practice, but Heka is associated with ancient Egypt. How are these two aligned, work together? Yeah.
Yeah, love this topic because it's semantics, but it also, words carry a lot of energy and different frequencies that are important. So I really love words, and I've loved always naming things and receiving new names as well. So in this case, for me, Kundalini is very, very connected to the Indian lineage. And in that lineage, they describe Kundalini as one particular energy that is very linear, because it's this one energy that is boiling and stored. It's a lot of potential there, unlimited, but that is stored at the base of the spine, and that in one big awakening, it rises through the central channel to open all the way through the crown, and we have a divine awakening, a total awakening. So it is the one energy rising linearly. But the thing is, in my line of work, what we call and see as life force activations, it was called and named Kundalini activations as a baseline. It was the most famous name for it. And so I took it myself, I was doing the same thing. And because I didn't have any background, none of us really had backgrounds with this process of energetic transmission activation. So we all called it this way. But after doing several sessions and being on that path after a year, I would say, I was seeing that this was not the entire truth, because in those sessions, the energy wasn't rising like this. Sometimes it was, but it was such an infime part of what was actually happening. And so what I was seeing was more vast. It was more, yeah, open everywhere. So that's why I started to call it life force activation, because life force, I would say that Kundalini is part of a life force, or is an aspect of our life force. But life force is everywhere. It's in the space between things, it's in the air, it's in bodies, it's in plants, it's everywhere. So that is already more accurate. So I changed it to life force activation, because Kundalini was then become just a famous branding name that was kind of attracting people, but it wasn't true. Life force activation was very true. And then after a while, each facilitator, we have unique soul and unique blueprints. And so even though we are surrendered in this space and we have the same divine energy coming through for people and for every one of us, we still have a signature that is unique. And so the more we surrender and allow things, the more we start to see that people in my sessions, they are finding experiences that are kind of similar. But if I go do my friend facilitator session, they will have such a different vibe of the same frequency. So we start to recognize, oh, the way that I open those portals, there are these energies coming through. For me, it was a lot of very light, etheric, and higher dimensional beings. Sophia, Christ, divine feminine, softness coming through. It was a lot of that. And of course, Egyptian lineage, which I'm very connected to, and really awakened to the remembrance of.
I wore my, especially,
Wonderful. Yeah, so beautiful. So yeah, a lot of connection there. And as I was leading a journey in Egypt right before the people arrived to actually receive an initiation for the life force activation facilitation, I was meditating on the Nile, and really I had already journeyed with life force and this name, and I knew that something very unique was coming through, and it was also to honor what was happening in my sessions and was different than anything else, but I didn't know what. And as I was meditating on the Nile, really connecting with my guides, preparing the journey ahead, I received the name Heka.
Heka, yes.
And this name, so my guides and Isis, which is one of my dear guides here, they explained that this was actually the technology that I was carrying, and I needed to name it this way now to honor it and allow it to really bloom as this unique technology that this is, and that my soul decided to bring through. So Heka in ancient Egypt, it actually means magic with a big M. So it is the force of creation of the gods, the force of life. So it makes sense, right? The life force, it just makes sense. But I felt it and I feel it in a sense of there's actually a full technology here that we have been God given that is allowing the living light consciousness, that absolute, if we could see surrender and faith and living in surrender as an energy, it will be living light. And Heka is one perfect technology that is allowing this living light to come through here in our bodies in an embodied way, and to be anchored on the earth and to allow its perfect work. So it's a vessel for us to integrate the living light that we are.
Now, I had to look at your website, and I've seen some other reels and videos of people going through these sessions, ones with yourself, and there's a lot, there's you kind of doing some energy work, and the person is laying down writhing. I would say the word I would call writhing, like kind of, undulating and moving. What's happening in those sessions?
Yeah, it can be so powerful. And usually the videos that we post when we're facilitators are the videos that visually something is happening. So the body is moving so that people can really feel and have that resonance. But the truth is that's not all that's happening on the mat.
Mm.
So many people have stillness and more
Mm.
inward experiences or more subtle experiences that are equally as powerful, but just less spectacular. But we tend
Yeah,
to post online just spectacular because, we
of
can
course.
see it with the eyes, and it's really wonderful. So
Yeah,
what happens? Well, first of all, I would say that the person that is riding the waves and resonating with this frequency, they're just being moved by their own energy. So what happens through the physical body, emotional, inward, visual, whatever, there's so many things that can actually occur. It's their energy expressing in one moment. So a person coming today or tomorrow won't have even the same experience, and everyone will have unique journeys as well,
yeah,
because their divine life force, their divine higher selves are leading the way. So we have very physical releases. We have also different light codes coming through the hands and the arms. We also have light language or releases through the voice. So the
mm,
voice, the movements, the shaking, sometimes the dancing, and very often the emotional. So tears are flowing, laughters, different types of just releases or remembrance also coming through the emotions. And of course, we have the inward journeys. So there is a feeling of home like no other that everyone experienced there of, wow, this is it. Because we finally let go of everything we're not, everything we've created here that is temporary. And we're reconnecting to the truth beneath it all, to the origin, the essence. And it's all felt in the body. And that is something that everyone can feel in different layers, in different intensities. But we all feel in a sensational level the truth of essence, of being this everything, this absolute, the oneness. So there are different inner journeys with that. People experience out of body experience, astral journeys, traveling through dimensions, meeting loved ones that passed away, meeting higher beings, masters and angels. And
mm,
I want to also share that when you mentioned that you see me performing different movements and energy work with them, I am in the exact same position as they are, except that I am standing and in service of them. But the truth is, I'm fully surrendered. It's not like I have a set of movements or things I need to do to create something. The more I surrender to the field that is ever intelligent, and the energy field inside of them is ever intelligent, resonating and performing with them a synergy that is miraculous, and where the healing happens, the magic happens. Well, I surrender to that. So I become a translator, a traduction of the energy that is happening in the field, the entire space, but also in their body and for them. So the codes that are coming through, because there are codes, whether it's movements or sometimes positions. Sometimes I find myself with my butt up, my face on the ground, and I need to stay there for a while. And I can feel so subtly. It's like becoming multidimensional, where the physical body is now in service of an entire energy that is moving in perfect, precise geometry. And so the body becomes a helpful translator, and what allows this divine energy to actually anchors in the material and the physical. So we're all surrendered, and this is how magic resonance truly happens, and how the light codes come through here and integrate in our bodies.
amazing. Now, people can connect to you through your website, which I'll put a link up with this podcast, which is sophiesunportals.com, but I'll put a link up. Now, can you just tell people what you're up to, events, and how people can connect with you and what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I always offer online Heka activations. So these work as much as in person, even though sometimes it sounds crazy, but it always does. Sometimes it's even more powerful for some people that prefer to be in a small, alone space. So I do online activations for groups every month, sometimes bi-monthly. And yeah, they can join anytime from anywhere in the world, where a lot of people creating this grid of light on earth, which is really beautiful. And of course, my really the depth of my purpose here is to allow and give the initiations to become a vessel and an embodied facilitator for this frequency, so that new facilitators can open this field in the most pristine and pure way. And those initiations are facilitator trainings. I give them next year, one in Mexico in April and one in Greece in July. And of course, there's also one in Egypt that is longer. It's a 2 weeks journey, and it's happening actually in 2 weeks now. And it's a level 2. So I invite facilitators of life force activation, Kundalini activation, or from my school as well, Heka. And any facilitator can come, and together we go way further. There's a full upgrade of our frequency and the way we serve, and of course, an upgrade of our own medicine. For me, the most important is that everyone, even though we are carrying the same pure light, yes, everyone awakens and remembers to it and to its highest form and its highest transmission, but through the lens and through the uniqueness of each soul's medicine. And so this is really the heart of my work, to transmit the purest ways, to then allow it, but also to honor and empower each being in their uniqueness. Yeah, it's very important.
Amazing, Sophie. Well, I'm going to put a link out with this podcast. I did pick a card from your deck actually, and this one, just show people, is there you got the two golden serpents, and I've got the booklet here, which says it's kind of the divine masculine, divine feminine kind of dancing within you, which seems appropriate. It sounds like your training is a lot to do with this divine and also this rising and expansion of energy. So there we are. Two golden serpents, life force energy, magnetic energy, divine union. Sophie, it's
Absolutely.
lovely chatting with you.
Thank you. It's so amazing. Yeah, I love this. Yeah, it's divine union. This card is exactly that. It's actually the strongest thing we can do with our masculine energy is to surrender to the feminine and to start serving that part, to start serving the divine in this way. Because when we surrender comes the time of we hear a calling and then we need to answer. And this is where the perfect balance happens. And this is where we create miracles. So yeah, this card is
Ah,
magic.
fabulous. Thanks, Sophie. Till next time we speak. Lots of love.
Thank you so much.